Yesterday, got some folks stirred up, had a lot of comments, James, in regards to the secret ingredient of Nick Saban, the recipe, elite quarterback not required, and had a lot of people making a lot of comments on it. And I thought more and more about this, and I think I have a part two to continue that conversation. But one comment that got from yesterday, and it kind of proves my point about everybody in Tua. Tim Tyson is a guy who's a good friend. He listens to the show and comments, and sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. And he says, I seem to remember lots of people pumping up Jalen to be exactly that, though, talking about elite, gonna change the game, complete package. And my assumption is he's insinuating that Jalen is not elite. I agree. Jalen's not an elite quarterback if you rate on just passing. And that's what people, because of 707, that's what we think makes elite passers. That's why everybody is talking about Tua. But that's my point. People said Jalen was an elite passer. He was a complete package. And we've seen Jalen has to grow as a passer. So Jalen is not an elite passer. Will Jalen ever be an elite passer? Many say no. I'm not ready to write a ticket off on him and put finish because he has 2 more years of college coaching to get there. Now, will he be your top 5? No. Will he be a better passer if he plays 2 more years? Absolutely. And I just want to see if that's the case. But that's my point, James, is everyone sees the potential of Tua to be an elite passer. But just like Jalen didn't prove to be everything that everyone said in recruiting, Tua could be the same thing. And so right now there's a lot of people out there who want Tua to be the quarterback. And it's because of potential. So my topic today is fear fuels the criticism. Fear fuels the criticism of Jalen. Now, fear is false evidence appearing real. And that's what I'm going to spend this first segment on. Then we're going to have Deal No Deal. We're going to have recruiting with Hank South. And then we'll come back and wrap up the show with our 2-minute warning, courtesy of University of Oral and Facial Surgery. That's be our 2-minute warning. That's how we'll close out the show. So, love to hear your thoughts on what we're going to be talking about. 205-342-9904, or post your comments on Facebook Live. And once again, don't forget to give me the score prediction with passing yards for Jalen. All right. Fear fuels the criticism. I've had people say, do I think the criticism is fair? First of all, you're welcome to criticize whatever you want. And there is stuff in Jalen's game that needs to be critiqued, criticized, whatever word you want to use. Jalen is not a complete quarterback yet. Will Jalen become a complete quarterback in the eyes of some? No. In the eyes of others, he will never become a complete quarterback. And in the eyes of some, he's complete now. So that it's all over the board. But here's the thing. Criticism is a part of the game. Jalen said he knew what he was signing up for. But I think the criticism of Jalen is I'm not judging whether it's fair or not. I'm just saying that it's every play. It's every single play. The people who criticize Jalen critique within the play. Okay? I saw Baker Mayfield scramble around and make the exact same touchdown pass that Jalen made. The news, the TV, the fans, no one went back to look and see who was open during that play. All they celebrated was the touchdown. When Jalen makes a play, people go back and go, well, this guy was wide open, but he didn't hit him at this point. It doesn't matter. A play is from whistle to whistle. And I'm saying, now, in the film room and all that stuff, yes, you need to go back and critique that. If that was the correct read, I don't know if it was or not. If he did not read it and he was looking at the guy and didn't release it, boom, you coach him up. If it's not, then you have to go back and say, okay, why didn't you see it? Was it lineman in your face? Were you on a different read? Did you read it fast enough? It's so much more that goes into it other than the cameras and ESPN giving a top view from the freaking field camera, showing every receiver at the same time, but not showing you the quarterback's eyes. But the thing is, they call it football plays, which means from the time the whistle blows till the time it blows to end the play. That's a play. Everything in between those whistles is one play. And if a kid makes a play, he made the play, even if he missed it the first time. So that's what I'm saying is about the critique. He got critiqued for throwing it to Ridley versus Foster. That's crazy. He may have thrown it to Foster, may have been open. The problem with that play wasn't the not throwing it to Foster. The problem was he didn't throw it far enough to Ridley. When you have two guys open, you choose one. Here's the key. Is it fair or not? That's up to you to judge. I don't think that it's healthy. I think it's extreme. I think he's critiqued on every single play. But I think the criticism comes from fear. I talked to the president of the Tua fan club, the self-proclaimed president of the Tua fan club, and this is what he said. My concern is that Jalen goes on to win the national championship and Tua transfers. I said, what? Now, I already had thought about this fear thing. Fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. Everybody assumes that Tua is going to be an elite passer for 60 minutes if he gets in the game. And he very well could be. Now, listen, you cannot make cake without the proper ingredients, okay? So if you don't have cake mix, then there's no reason to start making a cake. But if you have cake mix, it doesn't mean that you have the eggs, the butter, the mixture, and everything, and that it's all. It doesn't mean you have the proper heat. It doesn't mean you can look like you have everything for a cake and get right down to it, and you don't have the proper heat, James. You can't handle the heat. You don't set the heat on the right temperature. So Tua potentially could be absolutely awesome because he appears to have the cake mix, the butter, the eggs, and everything. But the one thing we don't know if he can handle the heat. And I've seen heat make men crumble, and we saw that last year with Blake Barnett. When the heat was on, everybody says, well, he didn't get a chance. He had more than one chance. I'm going to give you two chances at Blake Barnett, and when it looked like he has everything. But when the heat in the oven came on, he was not ready to be put in that oven. In the USC game, look at how he played at the beginning of the game when everybody was hitting him. Boom, 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 boom. Eyes were big. He looked terrified. But then look how he played at the end of the game when the game was over. That's the way Tua plays. Blake Barnett at the end of the USC game looked every bit as good as Tua looks right now. That was the first time he had the heat on. Then he had an opportunity. The heat was put on him when he decided to transfer, James. When he decided to run, the heat was put on him. And he did not handle that heat. He did not stay here and compete. He ran. And he ran to Arizona State, where he's still a backup. He's still a backup. The guy who he was a 5-star, he was elite, he was the best passer, he's the highest recruited. He is the highest recruited quarterback Nick Saban had ever had.
You know how many pass attempts Blake Barnett had this year at Arizona State?
I don't know, but I know
pass attempts now 5,
and I know he had an interception in one of those. So and that's the point behind that. When you look at it, when you look at what he happened with that, that's what my concern is with Tua. Tua has the ingredients, but I don't know if he can handle the heat. But the Alabama people is fear. Now critiquing Jalen's game, you're free game to do that. And there, as I said at the beginning, there are things that need to be critiqued. He doesn't stay in the pocket long enough for my liking. I like to see him. If you got to make him a pocket passer, he needs to stay in the pocket more. If I was coaching him, I would roll him out more so it's no longer an issue. I would roll him left and right. I wouldn't roll him just to the right, and I would do things to help that. I would send routes across in front of him, but they're not doing that. So if he's going to play in this system, he has to learn to stay in the pocket, and he has to learn to read. I don't know if he'll ever be a guy that can read 3, 4, 5 routes. I don't know if he'll ever get there. But so don't give him 4 or 5 route reads. Give him 2 or 3 route reads with a drop off.
Do we really have a check down in this system under Daboll?
They've added that. That's why the running back is out there. So he needs to learn to trust that check down. Okay, so that's another area he needs to grow in. But here's the other side of that. When you look at Jalen and you look at what he's done, he's played within the system. He's won. He's only lost twice. That's why the criticism is so bad to me. You're not criticizing a guy who's losing. You're not criticizing a guy who is costing his team games. You're criticizing a quarterback who, I love it when you go, he only has 1 interception, and people go, yeah, but he could have more. Well, Sam Darnold has like 15, and he could have more. So every quarterback could have more. Don't tell me because he only had 1 interception. Every quarterback could have more. Every quarterback could have more completions. Every quarterback could have more incompletions. That's part of the game. But Jalen is criticized as if his team is like 2-10 versus playing for the 2nd consecutive national championship. I asked the president of the Tua fan club. I said, if Tua was redshirted, or if Tua wasn't on this team and we had the exact same backups, if all the quarterbacks that were on the team last year had came back this year because they all could have, would Jalen be being criticized? And he said no. I said, why? It's because the fear of what Tua may do. People are looking for Tua because of the potential. We think we have a Baker Mayfield on the sideline. That's what we think. So we think we have a guy who's not as elite a passer, so we criticize him, overly criticize him on every play. I'm talking about he is critiqued on every play. There's Alabama fans, and I'm talking about well-known media guys who have to stay biased, but I mean, stay non-biased so that they can do their job, but they're really Alabama fans. The reality of it is they can't watch the game because they're critiquing every single play versus enjoying the game. And that's because they're fearful of Tua transferring. They're fearful of if Jalen does great. If there are Alabama fans right now, not all of you, there are Alabama fans that want Jalen to have a bad game and Tua come in and save the day. I mean, and that's sad. There are people you couldn't get them to pull for Jalen to have a 250-yard game, be 18 for 21 or whatever, because it would mean that Tua might transfer, James. And here's my thing. I hope Tua doesn't transfer. Won't blame him, won't care if he does. I'm not that guy. I played the game. If you don't want to be here and you don't want to compete, go home. Go to UCLA. Go do whatever you want to do. And I'm not saying – I've not heard Tua say he want to leave. I heard Tua say, listen, I fully support Jalen, and he has my complete back. And when we get to the end, if the script flips, I expect the same thing to happen. That's what we're looking for. Every other quarterback in Alabama has paid their dues, waited their time, and there was never this outcry. So Tua's potential, I think, is what fuels the criticism, the just continuous play-by-play criticism of Jalen Hurts. Now, hear me. All of you who are going to send me all these notes and messages and all this stuff, Jalen needs to continue to improve as a quarterback. But Jalen's done nothing to lose his job, and Tua's not done anything to win the job this year. And everybody in DH Bay saying, but didn't everybody say that Jalen had all this potential? Yes, and he did. And there was no criticism of Jalen as a whole. There was some people critiquing his, but not like it is now, because we didn't have a Tua behind him. And the fear of what Tua may do if Jalen has success, if Jalen wins the job, if Jalen wins the national championship, Tua may leave. Guys, if Tua wants to leave because he didn't win the job as a true freshman over a guy who has only lost 2 games in his entire career, then Tua needs to go. That's the way I feel about it. But I'm not saying that about Tua. I'm saying that about all the Alabama fans that are saying this about Tua leaving. If that's what he decides to do, more power to him. More power to him. And much success wherever he goes. He seems to be a great young man. That's why I think he's going to stay here and he's going to battle. And I hope to see that battle in the spring. I hope to see a true quarterback competition battle, and may the best man win. But there's no reason right now that you give Tua Jalen's job and Jalen's team. And I'll close with this. On all the people who are fearful of what may happen and who are also making assumptions about how good Tua is at this point, Tua potential, man, he could be the greatest quarterback to ever play here when you look at his potential. But when I was a freshman, I would play 15, 20 plays a game. But most of the time I came in on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, or goal line where I either ran the ball or blocked for the guy running the ball. So every time I was in the game, it was a touchdown, a first down, touchdown, first down. So I would have people say, man, you need to be playing more. You need to be playing more. And I wanted to play more. But the reality of it is I was good for 15 and 20 plays as a freshman. If I'd had to be the starter and then if I played 12, 15 plays, then had to play a 3rd down and 1, it wouldn't have been different. It would have been different. I wouldn't have been as strong, wouldn't have been as fresh, wouldn't have been as effective. And that's what we see with Tua. Tua's coming in a game where he is in his element. But the question we don't know about Tua is, can he take the heat? He looks like a great cake. He looks like he's going to be a red velvet cake for Alabama, crimson and white. But we don't know yet. But let's not let fear prevent us from enjoying that we're playing for our 3rd straight national title with the quarterback that's taking us to our 2nd straight national title under his leadership. Let's enjoy that. Let's not let fear keep us as a Bama nation from enjoying what we're getting to witness. And then if Jalen wins it, good luck in the spring. Good luck in the spring. May the best man win. That's the way I look at it. I don't care who the quarterback is at Alabama. But I know this. I don't think that Tua's done anything to win the job this year, and Jalen's done nothing to lose the job. That's why you see me defend Jalen. That's why you see me say Tua doesn't deserve to start. Not because I like Jalen more than Tua. I don't know these young men. But if Tua leaves, good luck to him. But don't overly criticize. Criticize Jalen. That's part of the job. Part of the job. But don't let fear drive your ability. And if you're one of those people who can't sit back and watch Alabama win a semifinal dominant game without being sick at your stomach, you got some issues. And it's fear of what Tua may do if Jalen is successful. Alabama, I think, goes on to win a national title. And then we got some fun stuff to talk about, James, because we got a great spring. Hopefully we'll have a great battle. Hey, that wraps up the first quarter of the Blitz. Went a little long, overtime in the first quarter, but I had to get that out. And I closed it up with fear fuels the criticism of a winning quarterback because we're fearful of the great potential of the guy behind him. We may have a Heisman Trophy quarterback on the sideline, and we're fearful we're going to lose him if Jalen is successful. Don't let fear drive you. Live in the moment, experience the moment, and enjoy the moment. Just want to continue. Tim Tyson, commenting from yesterday, said, but Jalen never – I replied to him, and in regards to people talking about Jalen being elite. And I said, and he proved not to be an elite passer. That's my point about the outcry for Tua. He seems to have the entire package elite, but it may not pan out the way it appears. Tim Tyson said, but Jalen has never shown any glimpses of being an elite QB in terms of the passing game. I don't believe Tua is complete either, but certainly a better passer. Agree. I believe that Tua is a better, more accurate passer in the situation he's been in. We don't know what pressure is going to do. That's the what is it? Pressure burst pipes. You know, pipes can be totally fine until there's a lot of pressure on them. And that's what we don't know about Tua yet. Tua just wowed people during bowl preparations. So did Jalen. The year before, Jalen wowed everybody, and they say that Jalen was the reason we were able to be prepared for Deshaun Watson. Remember? And then last year, Tua wowed people, you know. So they've had similar paths. However, I'll say this for Jalen. He has done a great job of protecting the ball, staying positive, and extending drives with his legs. Kudos. He's got the arm to make most throws, absolutely, if he'll trust the play to develop and stay or step up in the pocket. And that's how big the margin of error is. The reason I wanted to point that out was that's the margin of error. He does, to me, he bails too quick. And I've said that from day one. I wish he'd stay in the pocket a little bit longer. But if he can't get there and he's going to be your starter, you have to start adjusting to that. There's been a lot of comments on today's program as well. But before that, one of our listeners, Johnny Lynn, has a great grandson. So congratulations to Johnny Lynn on the birth of that sweet grandson. Raise him up and spoil him, right? But when you look at this, this is a comment, and it crossed my mind. I didn't entertain it, but it did cross my mind. And someone has typed it out. I actually wish Jalen would lead to a championship and transfer to another school, so we don't have to listen to all of the hate every game. Now, that thought crossed my mind. I mean, if he wins the championship, he's still going to be criticized because of who's behind him. If you can't enjoy the fact that you've been on the last 2 years, you have played in last 3, but under this quarterback, and you still are miserable, a championship isn't going to change that. A championship isn't going to change that. Now, if he had won last year, it would have, James, because I can tell you about Jay Barker, won a championship with 18 yards passing or 20 yards, whatever it was. I can tell you about McElroy, 50-something yards passing, but he won the game. No one was crying for A.J. McCarron. Why? Because they won, but that's an interesting thought. Wouldn't that stink if this kid wins the championship and then he transfers? But I told you yesterday, James, I don't know. If he was my son, I don't know what I would tell him. Because everything that you teach a young man to do, in terms of life in this game, Jalen Hurts does. And every single play, he is critiqued. And I'm okay with criticism. And I think we need, when we get rid of criticism and we get rid of competition, our country, and we're close to that point, is in trouble. So I don't have a problem with that. But my problem is give both sides of it, like Tim Tyson did. Tim says he's not an elite passer, James, but he comes back and says, but you got to give him credit for the way he handles the game. And what is an elite quarterback? An elite quarterback and an elite passer is two different things. Jalen has played as an elite quarterback in terms of everything but the passing game, managing the game, running the ball, taking care of the ball, leading his team, getting victories. The only part he's not been elite in is in the passing game. So he is an elite quarterback in that sense, but we judge quarterbacks, James, on yardage and explosive plays and points. Nick Saban grades him on wins. Alabama fans that want Tua, the reason you don't have Tua and won't get Tua this year is because Jalen Hurts is giving Saban what he wants, which is wins, and you're not getting what you want, which is 250 to 300 yards of passing, explosive plays, and beating the team by 30 points. I had a guy actually tell me that. If Tua was quarterback and we winning by 30, who gives a rip? If you win by 30, you want to win. But I would say this, you'd also give up more interceptions and more chances of losing, in my opinion, getting to those 30. Ask Baker Mayfield how it feels to score, 48 points? Did he win? No. Nope. I'll take 24-6 every time.